Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamie. Now, today we're going to be doing one more of my investment 101 videos. Alright, so what we're going to be talking about today are fixed income securities, or basically bonds. Now, if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing, and if you do, just turn on that post notification so that way you don't miss any of my videos. Alright, now welcome back to all my returning subscribers, and just in case you guys didn't turn on that post notification, just go ahead and check that little bell icon down below, see if you have post notifications on. Alright, also you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram with the links in the description below. Fixed income securities, these are different types of securities that you get a fixed amount of interest from at certain payment dates. Now, these payment dates, it all depends on the type of security that you chose. So for example, if you chose repo, you can get interest, let's say tomorrow, depending on the type of contract that you chose. But for bonds, you may get interest like either quarterly or semi-annually. It all depends, as I said, on the type of security that you chose or the contract period. Normally, we talk about fixed income securities. I know the first thing that comes to most persons' mind are bonds, but it's a little bit more than that, and there are other types of securities that are classified as fixed income securities. I just mentioned a repo. Now, a repo is a repurchase agreement. This is normally a short-term interest-bearing security. The reason it's called short-term is because for a repo, you can invest in a repo for, let's say, a day. You can have it overnight, or you can get interest on a repo for up to a year. It's very rare that you see a repo that actually goes up to 1 year. Now, there are other types of short-term fixed income securities such as a T-bill, commercial papers, and certificate of deposits, as well as repo, as I just said. Now, first, we're going to talk about the T-bill or the Treasury Bill. These are issued by the government of Jamaica. They normally run for like 90 days or 180 days, so 3 months or 6 months, depending on what you want. Now, when you're buying a T-bill, you normally buy it at a discount. Now, when I say buy it at a discount, let's say you're buying 10 grand worth of T-bill, right? You're not going to pay 10 grand for the T-bills. You're going to pay, let's say, about 9,500. So when you purchase 9,500 worth of T-bill, what happens is that when the government is paying you back your money on that T-bill, what they do is to pay you back $10,000. So you bought it at a discount, 9,500. You got back 10 grand when you got your payment. So you made $500 right there on that T-bill. So that's how it works. While a T-bill is where you're lending your money directly to the government, a repo is a little bit different. Now, what happens is when you buy a repo, what you would do is to lend your money to a company. With the repo market though, once you're lending your money, it's normally secured. So it's usually secured against like your GOJ bonds and so on. So if a company is borrowing money from you, what they do is to put their GOJ bond in your name. So they're saying that, hey, you're not the owner of this bond, so you will get the interest rate and so on off of it. But it's only for a short term. Once the repo contract ends, what you have to do now is to transfer the bonds back to the company, and what they will do is to pay you back your money that you invested in the repo plus the interest that you earn from that repo agreement. And as I said before, the time for repos, it can be like overnight or it can be up to a year. But normally people don't really keep repo that long, as I said before. So keep that in mind. Next, we have commercial paper. Now, the commercial paper is a little bit different because what you do is to lend your money directly to companies. Now, when you lend your money, using a commercial paper, you don't get anything in return. You're basically just lending your money on good faith. So that's why if you're going to invest in a commercial paper, you have to choose a company that you know is strong, that has a very low possibility of default. So basically they have a low possibility of skimping on your money and not giving you interest payment and them thing there. Cool? So normally when you look at these things, the companies that do commercial papers or these structured papers, They're very strong companies and they normally have very good reputation. So make sure if you are going to get a commercial paper or if you're going to invest in a commercial paper, make sure these companies are very strong one. You know the balance sheet and so on. And they have a very low likelihood of you losing your money. Alright? The last short-term deposit instrument that we're going to look at is a certificate of deposit. Now, these certificate of deposits, they're basically what your mother and father would have talked about a long time when them said they're going to fix some money for you a while. You understand? What you do with the certificate of deposit is that you go to the bank and you tell them that, hey, you know, someone want to fix a piece of money here for a period of time. And them say, alright, cool. Now, you decide on the time that you're going to fix the money. You also decide on the interest rate. Now, once it is that you don't need that money before the time, then everything just works out as normal. The fixed deposit runs its course, or the certificate of deposit runs its course. Once it's finished, you get the interest rate from that investment. Now, a couple of the reasons why people normally like these short-term investments is that they're generally very safe, because it's very rare that you have certain situations where a company going to pretty much go bankrupt within a year. That's pretty rare. All right. So these short-term investment types are also very liquid, so you can get back your money very quickly. It's just that if it is that you cancel a short-term investment quickly some of the time, then you'll get like penalty charges and so on. Now, next thing to interest charge on these short-term deposit instruments are very low. So depending on where inflation is, you might find that inflation pretty much gonna eat out all of the money we that make out of interest. You understand? So take those into consideration. So all of the instruments that we just started, your CD, your repo, your T-bill and so on, those are short-term instruments. Now, when you want to go medium to long term, what you have to get now is a bond. Your medium to long term investments. And as I said before, bonds normally like to pay interest like every quarter or semi-annually, which is like every 6 months and such. So with bonds, you can actually sell them on the market publicly, just like when you buy stocks and so on. So once you're on the bond market, you can buy it, you can sell it and so on. And just like stocks, this is how the price go down and this is how the price go up. When you think about going into bonds, one of the things where you need to do is actually pay attention to the credit ratings or whichever bond you buy, because you have certain bonds that are called like even junk bonds. And now junk bonds are the worst bonds, but there are bonds above junk bonds that are pretty much almost just as bad. So with junk bonds, you're going to get very good interest rates. You're going to get very high interest rates on them things. So like if you invest your money, it's very good. But hear what now? You have a very high possibility, so you can lose your money when you start investing in junk bonds, because these companies pretty much have no reputation whatsoever. They're always defaulting, so meaning them always a go with people money in a sense. When you're buying a bond, there are a couple of things that you need to look out for. One of them is the face value. So when you buy bonds, you actually buy it in blocks. So it normally selling like blocks of 100. Cool? And you pay your price for those blocks of 100. Now, the face value for every bond is 100. Now, where it is that the bond differs is in the principal. The principal is normally the face value times the price. So, if you buy a bond, like let's say 100,000 units of a bond, and you pay $101 per unit, what happens here is that your principal will be 101,000. So, you're going to pay 101,000 for that bond. Next thing to look at when you're buying a bond is that you have to pay the interest. So if you did not buy a bond right when the last interest pay, you have to pay the other person that own the bond them interest before you can get ownership of that bond. With the face value, you see, once the bond start mature, because every bond have a maturity date, they don't run indefinitely. They have a date that they are going to mature where whosoever you lend your money to, they're going to pay it back. And what they're going to pay back is the face value, not the principal. The principal is just a value for trading the bond on the open market, so people want to make a money off of them bond for them have. Understand? With the interest that you get like every quarter, every 6 months from a bond, what happened? This interest is called a coupon. So you have the coupon rate. Now, when you have a bond that says 5% coupon rate, what happens is that they're going to pay the interest on the face value of the bond. So you're going to get interest at like say 5% on the 100,000 per year. So you know that at like 2.5% if it's at 6 months it pays. Say 2.5% for the first 6 months, 2.5% for the second 6 months, because that's 5% per year bond. So always look into the coupon when you're thinking about bonds. Like there's a whole heap of different bonds where you can think about. So just to name a few of them, you have like index bond, government bonds, like even government of Jamaica. Jamaica government have bonds, and they don't just issue bonds in say Jamaican dollars. They also issue bond in US dollars, because as you know, US is basically like the universal currency in a sense. So what these are called global bonds, because you're going to issue a bond that is not in your home currency. You also have like convertible bonds. Now these convertible bonds, sometimes where you can convert them to like equity and so on, so you get shares for them at designated times and so on. Oh, and just before I forget, index bonds, what these are, they're normally like, for example, in Jamaica here, when we index a bond, we index it against the US dollar. So you're going to pretty much lend them US dollars, but once they're paying you back, they're going to pay you back in Jamaica. But now with the index bond, it's indexed against a particular currency. So what happens is that when you lend them a particular amount of money, you're going to lend them to them in US, but the interest payment is going to come back to you in Jamaican dollars. So when you say it's indexed, they're going to peg an exchange rate to your interest payment, your US interest payment for that period, and then pay you the Jamaican dollar equivalent for that bond. Now, we also have callable bonds, putable bonds. There's a lot of them, people. You understand? So this video is just to give you like an understanding or overview of just a couple of type of bonds that you can look into if you want to start buying bonds. Now, I know normally if you're going to buy bonds, sometimes the broker that you use will have a minimum amount that you can purchase. You understand? So once you're talking to your broker, find out what's the minimum amount of bonds you can purchase, so you are in the know. Now, thanks for watching, guys, and as always, do your research. Anything that we talk about here, they're mainly my opinion, so if you're going to make any changes to your portfolio, just please do your research. Alright, because as I always say, just a random guy on YouTube. You understand? Bye bye.